Vale of Ashes, Book 1, The Ember in the Crater. The night above the hills broke in fire. A bronze streak split the stars, far too steady to be a comet, far too bright to be mere debris. It crossed the sky with a hum that carried down into the soil, rattling stones and setting the animals restless in their pens. Mina was the first to see it from the riverbank, and she shouted for Kofi even as her eyes followed the trail. The thing descended with intent, a wound of fire moving as though guided. Kofi's wristband blinked as seismic readings spiked, but he ignored the warning. He lifted his head to the streak above. "That isn't falling junk," he muttered. "That's—" But the rest of his thought was lost as the ground shook and a plume of dust rose from beyond the ridge. Neighbours came to their doorways, craning their necks toward the glow. Some laughed, thinking it a spectacle, but others whispered in unease. When the second tremor rolled through the earth, more voices joined in, half in awe and half in fear. Mina grabbed Kofi's arm. "You're not going down there alone." "I wasn't about to," he said, though his eyes betrayed excitement. He had always been quick to chase storms. "Come on, before the whole district's awake." The bronze streak tore across the heavens in silence before the thunder followed. Its trail lingered too long for a meteor, lines of light rippling through the clouds as though etched by design. Drones launched from rooftops tried to track it, their sensors flickering, but one by one they veered away, confused by the anomaly. Hollow screens on porches glitched with static, warning messages scrolling about unauthorized atmospheric entry. Children pointed, wide-eyed, while elders muttered old words that did not belong to the century. "Debris," one man said, tapping his wrist screen as if to reassure himself. Some failed burn from orbit, nothing more. "No debris falls that steady," Amma replied sharply. "Look at the light. It moves with will." Others argued it might be a shuttle accident, a failed return from the stations, or worse, a test of weapons. Mina said nothing. She watched the arc of fire bend low, too perfect, too deliberate. She had seen comets before, their chaos and beauty, but this was neither. This was something that had chosen its descent. They went together, joined quickly by Amma, who clutched her shawl close, though its smart fibre shimmered faintly against the night, and Io, who had left his porch with a hollow lamp swinging from his hand. By the time they reached the edge of the ridge, a handful of neighbours had gathered, their voices tumbling over one another. Some called it a comet, others a broken satellite, still others a sign. But when the glow rose from the hollow and painted their faces in bronze light, all fell silent. The hollow steamed as if water had been poured on hot iron. At its centre lay no stone but a shell, curved and veined with bronze lines that pulsed faintly. The sound it made was not the groan of cooling metal, but a low, rhythmic hum, like a drumbeat pressed into the soil. The neighbours stood at its edge, eyes wide, and no one dared step closer until Mina did. She felt fear, yes, but also an unshakable pull, as if the thing in the crater had been meant for her to see. Kofi swore softly. "That isn't natural. That's built," Amma whispered. "It is a sign from heaven." Io tilted his lamp. "Looks like trouble to me, trouble wrapped in pretty lights." The shell split with a long sigh. Steam curled outward, carrying the smell of dust and metal. Inside was not machine or ruin, but a child, wrapped in cloth that shimmered faintly as though woven from threads of dawn. In her tiny hand rested a sphere no larger than a fist, its veins glowing in rhythm with her breath. Mina's gasp broke the silence. "Kofi, it's a baby." The others pressed in, muttering disbelief. Some spat in fear, others stared as if struck mute. The child blinked, and her eyes opened, gold burning steady. The glow of them cut through the steam, unblinking, unhuman. The crowd recoiled as if the infant herself had cast judgment upon them. The neighbours did not move at first, caught between awe and terror. The crater still steamed, and every breath carried the taste of iron and scorched soil. Io's hollow lamp flickered against the haze, its beam bending strangely as if the air itself resisted clarity. Someone whispered that the ground was cursed. Another muttered, it was no curse at all but a test sent from beyond. Kofi tapped his wristband again, though he had already muted the alarms. Radiation warnings pulsed red, insistent, and he cursed under his breath. Logs were being recorded. Even if he deleted them later, the authority might still notice. With a quick swipe, he forced the system into manual shutdown, silencing the flashing symbols. Mina noticed but said nothing. Her attention was locked on the child's breathing, steady and quiet, and the way the orb's glow seemed to match her rhythm. Amma took a step back, fear tightening her features. We should not linger here. The authority will already be watching. They always watch, Kofi's voice cracked. Eyes like that don't belong to any child of Earth. Amma clutched her shawl tighter. It is a curse. A spirit's trick. But Mina knelt without hesitation, drawn by something she could not name. The child did not cry or wail. She only watched, calm as a queen in her cradle. Mina's voice softened. She's alive. She's real. And whatever she is, she was sent here. The orb pulsed in the child's grasp, the hum deepening as dust swirled in faint spirals at the crater floor. Ao stepped back, muttering, that thing's not right. Look at it, like it's breathing with her. She's dangerous, Kofi said, though his voice was less sure now. Babies don't look at you like that. They don't. No. Amma's eyes narrowed. We must call the authority. Let them handle it before the soldiers come sniffing. Amma's voice cut through the muttering. We have treaties for a reason. The authority keeps the peace. If this is alien craftwork, better they take it than some war begins over what we tried to hide. Peace, Kofi spat. You think they want peace with something like this? They'll take her apart, and the rest of us will be locked away for withholding evidence. That's what the authority does. Protects the powerful and questions the powerless. Io snorted. Or we could get rich. Corporate fleets would pay for something like that orb. Enough credits to move us all to the inner cities. Enough to damn your soul, Amma snapped. You'd sell a child's life for a clean apartment. Mina rose, her arms tight around the infant. Enough. She is no experiment and no trade. She is flesh and blood, same as us, no matter her eyes. And she stays here, where at least someone will see her as more than a weapon. Her words silenced the group, though doubt lingered in their faces. The baby stirred, and the orb pulsed once, as though sealing the argument in light. And let them take her? Mina snapped. She'd be caged before she learned her first word. Is that what you want? To see her in some lab? The group broke into argument. Some muttered yes, better safe than sorry. Others hesitated, swayed by the quiet dignity in the infant's gaze. The orb flared once and silence fell again, as though the earth itself had hushed them. The golden eyes lingered on Mina, and she felt a warmth in her chest, steady and undeniable. Kofi rubbed his brow. Even if we don't call them, what then? Who keeps her? Who feeds her? You think we can just hide something like this? Mina said, She's a child. We've raised children before. Eyes or no eyes, curse or no curse, she needs us. Amma hissed, You don't understand. Things from the sky never come without cost. You take her in, and you invite whatever fate sent her. And leaving her? Mina shot back. That's the worst sin. She touched the child's brow, and warmth spread through her palm. The baby stirred, clutching the orb tighter, and the bronze veins dimmed as if lulled by her touch. Ao shook his head. You'll regret this? We all will. But even he did not step forward to stop Mina when she lifted the child from the cradle. The cloth glowed faintly around the infant, but her body was warm, her breath steady, her weight no different from any newborn's. For the first time, Mina felt her heart ease, as though the act itself had broken some invisible barrier. The neighbours muttered among themselves, voices laced with fear, wonder and disbelief. Armor spat on the ground, whispering prayers, while Kofi hovered close, torn between dread and duty. Yet none dared take the child from Mina's arms. "She's yours now," Armor said bitterly, "and so is whatever follows." Mina met her gaze without flinching, then let it follow. "She's only a baby. Whatever she will be, we will face it together." The orb gave one last pulse, then dimmed to a soft glow. The hum subsided, leaving only the sound of night wind across the hollow. In Mina's arms, the infant closed her golden eyes and slept. Far above Earth, Defense Grid Station K9 tracked the descent. Its sensors mapped thousands of orbital objects every hour: cargo shuttles, station haulers, corporate drones, even the occasional debris field. This streak, though, was different. Its entry signature was sharp, clean, far too controlled for waste. Lieutenant Adisa leaned forward over her console. Object 217 just clipped the upper thermosphere. Trajectory coming down near the Sahel corridor. Velocity consistent with re-entry craft. "Whose craft?" Commander Havel demanded. He rose from his chair, his uniform collar glinting in the cold blue light. "We don't have scheduled returns in that corridor." "No ID beacon," Adisa said. Her fingers flew across the display. "Thermal profile is anomalous. Bronze flare, not standard. Requesting auto-tag." On the main holomap, the streak of light cut across Africa like a wound. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, it blinked out. "What the hell?" Havel snapped. "Did we lose telemetry?" "Not exactly," Adisa replied. Her brow furrowed. "Sensors registered a displacement event. Object vanished at atmospheric interface. No debris, no trail." A low murmur passed through the room. Officers exchanged uneasy glances. The defense grid did not lose objects. Not in this century. Not when humanity had been forced to watch the stars for signs of friends and enemies alike. "Was it alien?" another voice asked from the pit. "We've had incursions before." "Quiet," Havel barked. He turned to the senior console officer. "Any chatter from treaty partners?" "None, sir." No ships claiming responsibility. No contacts in system. For a moment, the command deck was filled only with the sound of processors and the faint hum of the grid's orbiting shields. The silence pressed heavier than an alarm. The command deck filled with uneasy chatter as more officers leaned in to watch the fading streak. A junior technician spoke too loudly, his nerves cracking. "What if it's another incursion?" "We've had reports from the Centauri line. A probe lost near Tau Ceti." Commander Havel silenced him with a glare. "We don't speculate. We confirm. Log the displacement, cross-check with treaty partners, and flag all patrols within range." "Sir," another officer said, her hands hovering above the holomap. "If this was deliberate, someone just proved they can enter our atmosphere unseen. That violates every pact we signed." Havel's jaw tightened. "Then let's hope it was an error. Because if word spreads that our grid lost an object, the Council will tear this command apart before dawn." Lieutenant Adisa hesitated, then asked the question everyone feared. "And if it wasn't an error?" For a long moment, no one answered. The room thrummed with silence, lit only by the fading ghost of bronze fire across the map. Finally, Havel said, "Then we'll pray whoever sent it doesn't mean war. And we'll bury the record until we know more." Still, the streak lingered on the screens in afterglow, a trace of bronze fire fading like a ghost. Far below, the neighbours argued as they climbed out of the crater, their voices low now, fearful of drawing attention. Armor pressed for calling the authority before it was too late. Kofi worried about neighbours betraying them for a reward. Io said nothing but swung his hololamp in restless arcs, glancing toward the sky where satellites moved like slow fireflies. By the time they reached the path that led back toward their settlement, Mina's arms ached, but she refused to let anyone else carry the child. The orb's faint glow had faded into a steady pulse, a rhythm like a second heartbeat against the night. The baby had not made a sound since opening her eyes, and the silence of her carried more weight then a scream. Amma stopped at the crossroads and shook her head. "You've cursed us all." That child should never have been lifted from the crater. "And yet she was," Mina said. "Now she's ours, whether we like it or not." The path back to the settlement stretched long under the glow of solar domes. Transparent panels shimmered with stored daylight, casting soft illumination across fields of engineered grain. Drones swept overhead, their scanners pulsing in blue arcs, each pass a reminder of authority eyes. The group kept to the shadows, their voices hushed. Ayo tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "Maybe she'll grow wings in the night. Maybe she's some angel, and tomorrow we'll all be saints." "Or corpses," Kofi muttered. "If a single drone caught that fall, authority will be here before morning." Amma whispered old prayers, words her grandmother had spoken, meant to ward off spirits. Mina heard them but held tighter to the child. She felt the orb's pulse against her arm, steady as a second heartbeat. It gave her courage, even as fear pressed in. When they reached the edge of the settlement, the streets lay empty, the air filled with the hum of water processors and the faint ozone scent of energy grids. Life looked ordinary yet. Mina knew the night was no longer ordinary. The golden-eyed child in her arms was already rewriting it. No one spoke as they crossed into the settlement's edge. They feared the eyes of cameras, the sweep of patrol drones, the sudden query of an authority comlink. For now, fortune favoured them. The streets lay empty, the hum of power lines steady, the homes sealed against night. Only the small group moved, carrying a secret that might soon outgrow them. Mina looked down once more. The child's golden eyes had closed again, but even in sleep they seemed to burn through the veil of her lids. Mina's chest tightened. She felt the weight of fate pressing in from the future, though she could not name it. All she knew was that this night had bound them together, and nothing would ever be the same.